Hey there, and welcome to the Life and Business on Purpose podcast, where purpose meets profit and mindset meets strategy. I'm your host, Sandy Patterson, former kindergarten teacher turned online business coach, mom of two really cool boys, and the creator of the Momentum Method. Through this three-phase method over the past 2.5 years, I have helped dozens of women build values-aligned, profitable businesses without working 40+ hours a week, so they get to enjoy their business and live their lives on purpose. Around here, we do business differently because we believe success isn't about hustling to prove ourselves. We don't believe in rigid formulas or chasing someone else's version of success. It's about channeling perfection into power, moving with unstoppable trust in life and business, and leading with strategy that actually fits your life. Let's build your life and business on purpose together, one episode at a time. Here we go. Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I am so happy that you are here today because this conversation is one so many high-achieving, people-pleasing, perfectionist women need to hear. Now, in this episode, I am joined by the incredible Sarah Singer, who is a career, business, and life design coach, and we dive into a topic that every driven, big vision woman bumps into at some point in time. You guessed it, perfection. In this episode, we explore how perfectionism sneaks into your life and business, how it can slow your momentum, and what it actually looks like real life examples of how to shift out of this so you can move with more clarity in your life and business. And we also dig into what it means to build a values-driven life and business, one where your decisions reflect who you are today, not who you were when you first started. And also how cultivating deep self-trust becomes the catalyst for sustainable growth. Now, before we dive in, I just want to remind you, you are always open to book a completely free, zero pressure growth gap audit call. Together, we'll take an honest look at your current life and business structure, identify what is slowing you down, and map out the simple fixes that lead to more clients, more consistency, and results without the hustle and without the grind. The link is waiting for you in the show notes for that. And if you already know you are ready for deeper support and want to grow now, you'll also find links to apply for my mastermind space or private coaching. Those spaces are designed for the woman who is ready to step into real momentum heading into 2026. Okay, let's get into this conversation with Sarah. You are going to love it. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Like always, I'm so happy that you are here, and I'm extra happy today because I have a very special guest joining us today, Sarah Singer. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Sandy. I'm so happy to be here and so excited for this conversation.
You're so welcome. I feel like this is long overdue. We always I love being in your presence and your energy, Sarah. Sarah is a career, business, and life design coach. I love that title, by the way. I know so many people are like, what do I call myself? How did you land on that? It's so cool.
Ooh, good question. Well, how did I land on it? The idea is that it's helping women to figure out what your most authentic career looks like that's aligned with your values and your authentic self. And I started with more kind of the classical career coaching, like resumes, cover letters, figuring out your next step. But what I actually loved is the deeper side of the mindset and the life part of it. So career coach just never felt like it quite fit. Mm-hmm. And the idea is designing a career and a life that is authentic to you. So that was that. And then more and more, I'm really helping people who want to build their own businesses and in the entrepreneurial space. So I've included that. I don't want to call myself a business coach because I feel like that in and of itself is like grow to 6 figures, scale, and that's not what we're doing here, although that's part of it.
No, I feel that because I have gone back and forth so many times. I think as a lot of coaches that are relatively newer to coaching have gone back and forth of what do I call myself? And I feel the same way. I'm definitely a business coach, but I think what you said, I'm not I don't want people to think of me and be like, yeah, and we've talked about this, the bro marketing and sell and scale and all of those things is so much more than that. So I feel that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Great. So hi, everyone. So I already said, Sandy already beautifully said what I do, but here's a little bit about how it works and how I spend my time. So my background is in mental health and nonprofit management, and so I bring that in to say that a lot of what I do is kind of with a mental health flair. And so in the coaching, I work with purpose-driven women to figure out your next chapter, whether that is finding a new position, starting a business, and or also making a big life move with it. And it's really like the sweet spot of helping people in the first 0 to 2 years. I work with a lot of coaches and consultants, but I also work with women that are in a totally different field. Like one of my, I know you're supposed to have favorite clients, but one of my favorite clients that like I've had a very long-standing relationship with, she's worked with me, I want to say 3 times. When we first started working together, as an example, she was in a health tech company and she was doing management. Within a month of working together, she quit her job and she overcame this clarity around how burned out she was and she wanted to do something differently. So we figured out what that was going to be and her niche and what it could look like to start her own business. Helped her whittle it down from everything from weddings, events, travel, to kind of get more and more clear on her niche, which you know that well. And now she is a micro wedding event planner, and it is amazing. Like, she has blown up. She has dozens of clients. She's so good at social media. She's much better than I am, honestly, with it. And she's just so happy. She loves it. She's really living her true dream life. So a lot of what we did was the strategy, but also like the mindset and the navigating of those life transitions and getting clear on her purpose and her path and what she wanted. So I think that's a perfect example of how I would support a woman from kind of that stage of knowing you want to make a change to actually making a change and coming out on the other side.
Yeah, for sure. Can you speak to your like your story in that sense?
Yeah. So probably a lot of women would relate to the story, but my background was, I was, like I said, working in a nonprofit and in mental health for about a decade. I loved it. I used to travel all over the world and help build mental health programs in places like Rwanda and Peru, and I even went to Kazakhstan. I mean, it was an amazing, amazing position, and I loved it. My entire identity really was that. So, long story short, I got quite burnt out. I got to a point where I was in my early 30s and I realized I was actually chasing someone else's dreams, which is very cliche, but that was the phrase that kept coming back to me.
Yeah.
And I thought I needed to be in this, to be in the mental health sort of transformative space, I needed to be a therapist. And what I realized is I didn't. What I was looking for was coaching and consulting and,
Yeah.
something more on my own terms. So I
Yeah.
ended up leaving that world. I went on my own spiritual, soul searching type journey. And I started my own business. I was traveling. I did the nomad thing for a while. Um, and now we are like 3 years later, and I made those pivots, and I really love it. I rolled at IGC. I've had many coaches now. I help others do the same. So
Yeah.
I will pause there. And obviously that's the highlight
No,
reel.
I
That's
love
glossing
it.
over all the challenges.
No, I know. And there's always, that's a loaded question for me to ask for sure and to expect you to answer it in like 2 minutes. But I totally get it. And I appreciate you sharing. And I think that people are really interested in the challenging part. So we'll get to that. But also you mentioned like, I found myself chasing someone else's dreams. And so over, like, me and my listeners know too, like I talk all the time about values driven strategy as well as cultivating a values driven business in itself. So I would love to hear a little bit about that kind of process for you, because essentially what you're doing is you're creating a values driven life with your business as the vehicle to be able to do that and to live life how you want to live it. So I would just love to hear what like the kind of turning point for you was in that sense of like saying,
Yeah.
I'm going for this, I'm doing it.
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head because we have a similar
Yeah.
ethos in that, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of women are craving that. So just to reflect back, the question is sort of how did I land on that for myself and kind of approach the values
Yeah.
driven piece.
And the reason that I ask that is because I think a lot of people, not people in my audience, but a lot of people will spend a lot of time wanting something else or dreaming of something else or craving something else or even complaining about wanting something else, but aren't really necessarily ready to do anything about it. And they just kind of stay there. And then that's just how it is. And that's how it's always been. And then, life goes by and you're like, wait, what just happened? Is this what I truly want? So I just love to hear about the stories from women who do put their foot down and do take a stand for themselves and do say, like, no, like I'm going for what I want to do, even if it's the uncomfortable choice, even if I'm going to be uncomfortable for a little bit, even if I'm not quite sure how this is all going to play out.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So what came up to me as you were saying that is sort of two moments that were rock bottom, which I think I share because I feel it's important not to be like, what was me? But so people see that you have to have some moment of clarity where you're like, I can't tolerate this anymore. Something has to change. So again, everything on paper looked great. I was very successful. I had been promoted 5 times. I built a whole team. I was making 6 figures. Like I felt very aligned and in my ikigai, my purpose. Like on paper, everything was great, but it got to a point where I just felt so unfulfilled, where I realized that it was no longer my purpose.
Yeah.
So I remember very clearly there was a moment. Honestly, I think I had a depression episode when I look back on it, but it was a random Wednesday and I just could not get off the couch. Like I could not physically get to my computer and go to work. I'm like, this is not right. Like, this isn't normal. Like there's something here, right? And it's because my body was shutting down. Like this is not what you want to do. And if you keep pushing forward, something's gonna crack, right? There was another moment when I was in Africa in Sierra Leone and I just broke down crying because I knew I had to make a change. And my colleague, who was this wonderful Haitian man who was in his 60s and he was a priest, like completely different person than me, but we were, colleagues and dear friends. He basically said, Sarah, like you're allowed to have other dreams besides working for this organization. If you want to dream of having a family, of being pregnant, of doing your own thing, like you're allowed to have those dreams. And it was so touching coming from him as someone who was completely different and didn't share those dreams. His whole identity was this organization. But to have that validation of like, yeah, you don't need to keep chasing what everyone else is doing. You get to choose was so empowering. So I like to think about how could I be that person for other people and the way you are obviously for your clients to be like, you don't have to keep doing this. You can dream differently.
I love that so much. That's such a sweet story. And it's so, so true. Yeah. And I even get really micro with it. I'm like when my clients come to me, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, tell me what you're doing. Like micro strategy level. Like, okay, tell me what your strategy is. I'm like, why are you doing that? And they're like, I don't know, because everybody else is doing it. I'm like, no. Like, so this is like big picture. You get to choose the life that you want to live. And I think too, the cool thing about this and the cool thing about the women in my space and the people that I work with are they're willing to go after it and they're willing to dream bigger, even when, like, I'm sure this was the same for you. Like, I know when I left my teaching job, 9 out of 10 people like that I would talk to would be like, why?
You
Why are
probably
you
thought
doing
you were insane.
what is wrong with you? Like you spend all this time and money and energy going to school and college and credentials and da 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 and like why? Why would you leave something this great? And it was the same thing. Like I'm like, this isn't my purpose anymore. It was at one point, but it's not anymore. And so I'm gonna dream bigger and I'm gonna create a life that feels really good to me.
Yeah, you
It's
hit the
like
nail on the head.
you've done too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think more and more women, I'm sure in your audience too, are wanting this. Like, I don't think our stories are unique, but I do think the difference, and you sort of alluded to that. I'm interested to hear your takes on this, Sandy, but this is sort of a different segue, so you guide us. But I did, as you reflected on that, hear something, and not the women in my audience, but other women have these desires but don't do anything. And I've had a lot of conversations lately. I'm going to be kind of vulgar, but that's okay. And I've had these great these great conversations with women who I know feel the way we just described.
Yeah.
I can see it. We're talking about it. They are reaching out because they want to make a change or they're starting a business or whatever it is. And then we get to somewhere in the conversation where it's like, okay, so how are you going to reach those goals? How could I support you? Whatever the question is.
Yeah.
And it's like crickets. They're not ready to move forward. And I've sort of been joking. I feel like in a way it's this concept of cosplaying changing your life. Do you know what I mean by that a little bit?
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah. So the idea of cosplaying is,
But tell me how that
the idea of cosplaying changing your life or changing your career is like you have this desire, you want to do something, let's say in this example, more values driven, or you feel that inkling. But it's very scary. There's a lot of fears, and so we kind of subconsciously, I think, pretend that we're making progress and doing it, but we're not actually taking the steps needed. And it's the 9 out of 10 people who said to you, Sandy, why are you leaving being a teacher, right? So it's not to be in a judgmental way, because I know I was also cosplaying, starting my business for the first year or two. Like, I get it.
For sure.
But that's also, I think, a part of it is not just having the clarity that you want a more values aligned life, but actually saying, no, I'm going to do the hard work to make it happen.
Oh yeah, and nobody wants to be uncomfortable. Like that's the thing. And like our brains are wired to keep us safe. So when we say, "Oh, I'm going to uproot my whole entire life and I'm going to shift, it was supposed to be quote unquote like this one certain way, but I'm going to change it and just like go rogue and do something like so different." You're right. There is a lot of fear and a lot of like more people, like I said, 9 times out of 10, people will be like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'll just stay here, even though they're uncomfortable in that spot because it's more comfortable to stay uncomfortable than it is to go through like the fire and the flames and the uncomfortable parts to get to where you want to go. And that goes with anything, whether business, trying something new, like, oh, I just spilled everywhere.
You
Sorry,
okay?
I'm getting excited. Yeah, I'm totally fine. But oh, gosh, and you know me, you work with me all the time. I'm like, I just forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, okay, I know what it was. It always comes back to me. So the thing is, I think that the 9 out of 10 people will say, I'm just gonna stay where I am. It's fine. I'll suffer silently and like just be in this thing and it's fine. That one person though has, and this is what I talk about all the time too, is that massive amount of self-trust. And that's something that I do with my clients is cultivate that self-trust within business so that no matter what happens, like you are your best cheerleader, you are your best like support system, like you've got yourself. So in those moments of fear, worry, like what the fuck am I doing? Like what have I done to my life? Like you're okay. Like you're able to hold it, you're able to hold yourself and you're able to keep moving forward in the right direction even if things are not totally clear. I think waiting for clarity is like not a real thing. Like you
Yeah.
just to start moving and then you figure it out as you go. So I would love to hear from you like moments in your journey whether it was making that decision or even, like you said, now 3 years into your business, those moments that require self-trust. And
Hmm.
it's those hard moments essentially where you're like, you want to turn around and run back to what was safe,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you say, okay, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to
Yeah.
stay here.
It's a great question. When you were talking just now, what came up for me is this something I always talk about with my clients, and I'm sure you say the same thing, but in different words.
Yeah.
Action leads to clarity, not the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like messy action, I should get like a messy action tattoo somewhere on my
I
body.
love
Like,
that phrase. Yeah, I think that's your voice, your words in my head. I've started using it. I'm credit it to you
yeah,
because it's so accurate.
it's not mine. It's just, it
Yeah,
is what it is. But
it's
it's
really
what
good.
creates clarity. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. So what are those moments? Well, maybe one actually talking with you when we were at IGC in the spring. I wanted to start this group coaching program,
Mm.
and I remember I was so tripped up because and I still am. Like I'm not perfect for sure around these things, but
Nobody is. Let's just put that out.
I was very tripped up because my email marketing system was just messed up. Like it was
Mhm.
so confusing. I had all these potential clients who I knew would be great fits or want to work together. And I was just getting a bit overwhelmed because I was coming back from travel and I had a limited window of time where I wanted to get this out. And I remember I had a decision like, am I going to just sort of launch this program? It's not totally, the materials are not totally ready. I don't 100% know how it's going to look, what we're going to do. Like, I
Yeah.
built the plane as we flew it, and I didn't have all my assets ready or whatever. But you helped me, and you're just like, why don't you just send these women an invitation? Just like send them an email. Like,
Mhm.
would you like to chat? And are you interested in this
Yeah.
program or whatever it is? Like, it doesn't have to be so complicated,
Mhm.
and I can still have the vision of having those systems in place, but just start with something. So in doing that, I was able to launch the group program. I had 6 amazing women.
That's
Um,
so many. 6 is so
Thank
good.
you.
I had
Thank
2
you.
in my first group program, and they were people who like were my friends. So I'm like, "Can you
Yeah.
come?" They were
Yeah.
okay, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. It's quality over quantity too, I realized. And
totally.
so that was a moment of self-trust where I was like, I could wait for this perfection or wait until I have everything sorted, or I can just trust that if I put it out there and I lead with integrity, it will work out.
Yeah.
Another moment that stood out was I feel like through the last few years, I kind of think about it like I don't know if people who are listening can't see it, but I'm imagining like my hands are whittling down something from like a funnel, like
Yeah.
tons of ideas at the top and like simplifying. And
Yeah.
I struggle a lot with simplicity. And something I've had to learn is having too many offers, and I know you know this because I see it in your emails, but like you
Mhm.
actually have to learn it for yourself. No, even if any coach tells you this, I found you need to learn the hard way
Yep,
this
always.
lesson
Yep, yep.
of like too many offers, too many projects. I was doing some part-time coaching and consulting with other organizations, and it was diluting my time to focus on
Mhm.
my own business,
Yep.
and that has to do with not believing in myself that I'm going to be able to replace the income or this and that. So I feel like at every 6 months, there's a point where I sort of simplify further and I say, no, I'm going to really let go of this project, or I'm going to, hone in and focus particularly on myself or my clients. And
Yeah.
maybe there are dips in income in those months, but then it quantum leaps and it grows after. So
Yes. Oh, I
that's
love
part of
that
it.
so much. When you are talking about like, it's the whole like when you say yes to something, you're essentially saying no to something else, and vice versa. When you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. And I feel that so deeply because it wasn't until this last year in 2025 in July that I actually let go of all of my other income streams, and I'm just, working full time in my business. And that was I mean, that is a scary thing. But again, you're right. You're absolutely right. It requires self-trust to know that like I've got this. We've totally got this. And I love the simplifying and like cutting back to in November of this, like last month, November. We're in December, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what day it is. In November, in my mastermind space, we called it November. So it was like, what are things that we can say no to, essentially to create more space and more time and more alignment with things that we actually want to be doing. And so we got into this habit of at the beginning of the week, so like pulling out my calendar and going, okay, what can I take off of the schedule? What can I rearrange and move around to create more
Mm.
space for me, more space for my business, like whatever, more space for my family, whatever is needed in that moment. And we continue to do it. And it's so fun to like pull the calendar out on Sunday and go, cross that off, not doing that, like not showing up to this. And not, of course, I show up to things and like I
Yeah, of
deliver,
course. Yeah.
like, but it's like things that like maybe I could take that off my plate and nobody would, care. So I really, really love that so much. You mentioned too, which is another big topic around here, the perfection piece. And like so many people get in that, like, I'm going to wait until I'm ready. I'm going to build it and then I'll feel ready once it's all built out, whether it's an offer, a program, whatever. Can you speak a little bit more to how you don't let that perfection stop you or that
Mm.
need to like feel ready?
I guess when you said that, I would say I still feel the perfection inside. So that's the first fallacy is that all of a sudden you stop becoming a perfectionist.
No,
Like,
okay, so let me clarify. You
yeah,
don't, you absolutely don't.
yeah,
And my whole thing, like I will be like reading, scrolling, whatever, and I'll see a lot of people go like talking about like fixing your perfection or curing it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not fixing this. Like I am just the type of person that has high standards and that wants to do things well. So how can we shift that to like something that matters versus and like it's almost like diverting it in another direction versus fixing it. So yeah, it doesn't go
mm.
away. I'm still a perfectionist, like hands down, type A, like very much like to control and plan everything. But I've learned in my business how to divert that to things that actually matter versus things like my website or having a program completely built out before I even start to talk about it or invite people into it. So I would love to hear from you how you like where you turn that perfection or where you
Mm.
divert it to.
Yeah, and I love that reframe because we can't. I think first of all, what came up for me is it's changing our connection to that being part of our identity. Like there was a part of me for a long time that was like, I'm high achieving. This is just part of my personality, and so it's like, how can we use it for good versus this is just a problem I deal with, and that's what's kind of
Yeah.
embedded. So part of it is kind of like I would say our relationship to perfectionism, and let me think. Part of it is also feeling safe in that when you take that messy action, things work out. So it's kind of like if I found for myself, like when I left my job or when I've let go of different part-time income streams or when I've challenged myself to do something new, whatever it is, I like to imagine I'm getting to the edge of a cliff and like taking a leap of faith. Like I visualize it.
Yeah.
And in that, we don't know what's on the other side, but I know that if I take that first jump, then the next thing will come, and then the next thing, and it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
So I found like if I can break it down and create safety in those steps, then I
Yes.
feel better about doing it. Because if I'm waiting for the total end game, let's say like being certified, I don't even,
Yeah.
to be honest, I don't know how many hours I've done for the certification. I literally don't keep track. I have to go back and do that, you know?
Yeah.
But if I spent all of my time obsessing with like how many hours I have and focusing on that end game, I would not be present with where I am now.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a perfect example. Like I can go back and spend an afternoon and count the freaking hours and then I will get the certification. Like it's fine, you know? But if
Yeah.
I was to obsess over that or try to be perfect about it as we go, I would miss all the other windows of opportunity and then I would not see how those steps have allowed me to like try new things, have new clients come in, etc.
And enjoy the process, right? And cultivate relationships and just be present. Like, I freaking love coaching. Like, I love that this is what we get to do. And these relationships are everything to me. And so, yeah, you're totally right. When we are focused on like the thing, and I think a lot of like high achieving perfectionists, like people, women, um, like to have control, right? Like it's a control thing. I want to control how this is going to end up. I want to know the outcome. I want to know how it's going to come. I don't want to know when it's going to come. I want to know all these things, and then I'll feel really safe and really ready. But it's like releasing that, you're right, and diverting it into what's actually important and what you just described, enjoying the process, opportunities, allowing opportunities to come to you, building relationships, serving your clients in a really beautiful way. I think that's a great example. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it,
And
love
of
it.
course, as you were saying it, another deeper layer came up for me, which was like, let's take this
Mhm.
certification example, because I feel like this is a
Yeah.
classic one that a lot of clients that I have ask, do I need to, whether it's coaching or consulting or whatever it is,
Yeah.
like, do I
Mhm.
need to go back and get this training, this and that, and like
Mhm.
we sit on it and wait for years and then don't take any action because you're waiting for the perfection piece. So in that example, like, yes, actually, it turns out it is very helpful to get training and certified. I do recommend it, and I'm so glad I did it. That's a separate
Yeah,
conversation. But it's
totally.
a long journey. It could take a couple
Mhm.
years to, get all the
Yeah.
hours and this and that. So if you're waiting for all of that and not actually
Mhm.
building your business alongside it, like I've seen dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of clients at this point.
Mhm.
Um, no one has asked me, I mean, maybe a few, where am I in the certification process, because I'm in it.
Yeah.
I've gotten half of it done. I'm certified on one level and I'm getting to the next, the end. But if
Nobody's
I
ever
was,
asked me either
no
for
one's
anything.
asking, right? But if I was to wait and say, I'm not going to see any clients until I've completed the entire 2-year game, then what happens? Like you're,
Here's the thing with that too. I say this all the time. I'm like, okay, so cool. You're waiting for this like piece of paper essentially in your hand that says that you can, number one, dedicate however many hours to this thing, and number two, you're able to go into a testing center and pass a test. Okay? So that's essentially what that says, right? That paper doesn't change how you're feeling. Like you get to tap into that feeling of readiness whenever you want. And I always say ready is not a feeling. It is a decision that you make. You just decide,
mm,
I'm ready and I'm moving. And it's like, it's okay if it's not perfect. Do I want it to be perfect? Yeah, but it's not going to be. And I've cultivated the self-trust to know that like I'm good as I move. And I know to speak to what you said earlier, I know how to create safety within my brain to move even when things feel scary or like out of my control. And I think, yeah, it's just we don't wait to feel ready, people. We
yeah,
decide.
yeah. It goes back to that kind of comment I made around cosplaying, right? If we're
Mhm.
waiting for 2 years or 3 years or the perfect moment when your offer is ready or the perfect this and that, then we got to look underneath what's actually happening.
Yeah, for sure. That paper is not going to change anything. It's not going to change how you're feeling. You're not all of a sudden going to be like, "Ooh, I'm the expert. I am ready." Like that comes from movement, from doing things and things that feel messy, the messy action. And I will say too, a lot of the movement too, and the messy action, it feels messy to you because you're not, it's just new to you, but it's
Yeah,
not.
or it's not perfect,
Yeah,
but
exactly. Exactly.
but everyone else thinks it's incredible and they're
Incredible.
delighted to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love this conversation so, so much. So, why don't you share a little bit about where to find you and where, like, what offers you have currently going on right now?
Yeah, thank you. So,
Mhm.
the best way to connect with me is on Instagram, Sarah FC Singer, with an H. And what do I have going on? So it's December. We're about to enter a new year. I am so excited because, like what we had talked about before, I'm whittling things down, simplifying in my personal life and my business. So
Mm.
I have a new round of the Adventure Collective coming in, which, as I shared, is for purpose driven women launching their own businesses in the first 0 to 2 years. A lot of coaches, but also women who aren't necessarily in the coaching space, like event planning, creatives, community, consulting. Because, as we just talked about, it's still a service provider business and it's still the mindset work that we need to do. So
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. So that's the really exciting piece coming in January. I'm also going to make that a little bit more evergreen so that people can join at different points. And we talked about that last time we met, Sandy. So that's a longer game. And like bringing in former clients to have an invitation to join as well. I still have one-on-one offers that I'm doing. And one thing I'm super excited about is I'm partnering with a friend locally. I know this is the online space, but I found in-person connections are so important. And a
Mhm.
lot of my clients are in Massachusetts, New York, kind of New England area.
Yeah.
So I'm partnering with a friend locally in the Berkshires, and we'll be doing a retreat in person, and we're doing a membership that I am really excited to share more about. And the idea is that local women who are all in the entrepreneurial space or wanting to build their own businesses and or they already have them, but they want that community and support can come together, and we'll have
Mm.
coaching, community, connection, workshops, a retreat. So I'm so excited because that will layer on to the online space. And it's exactly what we do remotely, but just a lighter touch in person. So
Yeah, and there's something so magical about being in space with women who are like your people and your vibe and like just it's like we talked about the 9 out of 10 people. It's like you pull the one person and you bring them all together and it's like magic. It's magic. And you guys, I have seen Sarah's work. She's incredible. So go check her out. Where do you hang out? You're on Instagram mostly?
I would say Instagram. Yeah. I have a newsletter, so you can check out my website, sarahsinger.co, and you can subscribe to that
We'll
too.
put that all in the show notes too. But I want to ask you a couple other questions because I just thought of this. So you had
Yeah.
mentioned, and it is like December. I'm clear on the month now. It is December. So great. We're heading into the new year, heading into 2026. And you just mentioned that you are really working on simplifying both life and business. Would love to hear what you're doing to simplify your
Like
life.
how? How am I doing it?
Yeah, like what
Yeah.
is give like an example of what
Yeah. Yeah.
how you're
Um,
simplifying?
Yeah, I'll share how and then also maybe some tips.
Yeah.
So, part of it is sort of this concept of like surrendering control and working on the perfectionism and all these pieces here. Because if I don't do that, or for those listening, if you don't do that, then you're going to have a hard time letting go because everything will feel important and urgent.
Mhm.
So, some of it is the inner work, I would say, around like cultivating trust that the things that are happening around you are happening for you, not to
Yeah.
you. So
Mhm.
I'd say that's part of it is the mindset. And then on a practical level, I always, as I'm sure many of you people in your audience do, I do, goals and, I have
Yeah.
this process where I take clients through the wheel of life and it's kind of an
Mhm.
exercise where you look at your life holistically and all the areas of like relationships,
Mm.
community, business, finances. So I try to think for myself, like, what are the priorities in the categories?
Yeah.
In the past, I would literally have goals. I'd be like, I don't know, launch new program, certain,
Yeah.
metrics that are around like new clients or take this trip, like
Mhm.
very specific. I've moved away from that, and I actually think as a high achieving perfectionist, it can be a really good idea to just scrap all that and just say like, these are my priorities. Like instead of I
Mm.
will launch this program by I'm making this up by April, and I'm gonna have 10 clients. Just say like start the group program because you're smart and resourceful and you'll figure out the specifics. But instead of being attached to the external pieces,
Yeah.
just kind of prioritizing the themes I found
Yeah.
is helpful. And then
And
like the last,
go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it just gives so much more flexibility and fluidity to what you're doing because you're right. Like the perfectionist brain, it doesn't do well under rigidity, right? Like when we talk about like being disciplined, like I will stay so disciplined till like it burns me to the ground. But like I've learned how to create exactly what you said. I think it's a really good thing to look at. So instead of like a hard goal, like or a numerical goal, it's
Exactly.
I'm going to launch this program sometime within this year. I'm going to have somewhere between 2 and 10 people inside of it, and they're all going to be the most incredible clients. And then you just get moving and you start working and you start to flow with it versus like, oh, I got to do the like da da da.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that
Yeah,
reframe. It's a process. It doesn't
for
always
sure.
happen, but it's a journey. The last tip I would offer of how I'm thinking about it for myself is
Mhm.
thinking about like all the areas of your life. I like to look at things in terms of seasons, and this is actually something we did for our first in-person workshop with that group I mentioned, but
Yeah.
not everything can be prioritized at once. So I just decided for this fall I was really going to focus on my physical, my kind of spiritual, mental health, and my business. And I
Mhm.
really went hard on those three areas. I
Mhm.
didn't travel. I'm a huge traveler, so that was something I maybe gave up or deprioritized. I
Yeah.
didn't focus as much on family and friendships, and that's okay because I've really prioritized that in other seasons, and those relationships are still there. And so that's
Yeah.
something else that I think through is like, what are the priorities for the season?
Yes, I love that. What a great question to head into 2026 is your priorities. What would you tell someone that's like, okay, yeah, I can totally, I've got my priorities, and then they list like 20 priorities.
Always, they always do.
It's okay.
Um, well, we get into questions around like, what's your time actually look like? And,
Mhm.
instead of just what can you cut or deprioritize, I like to think about it like, okay, so if you really only had, you know, 5 hours, avail, I'm making this up, but if you had like 5 hours to do all these things, like what would you actually focus on when push comes to shove? We're smart and resourceful. We can figure out what to delegate and cut. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think like thinking about in terms of the time, thinking about in terms of what I loved your November concept. What can you delegate? What can you delete? There's this
Mhm.
concept called the Eisenhower matrix. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's very cool. Basically, the idea is like with any 20 priorities someone has, it's a grid, and you think about like what's urgent, what's not urgent, and what's important and what's not important. And
Mhm.
usually we think everything is urgent and important, but if you really examine it, you
Yeah.
could probably reduce a lot of those things, and maybe they're um, not important, so we can just scrap it, or maybe they're important, but you just need to like plan a different time for it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'll have to check that out because that's a big thing, I think, for me and across like the perfectionist, people that identify as a perfectionist, is that sense of urgency and like feeling like everything is really urgent in that moment. And like that's when the overwhelm starts to kick in. And that's when we just like and do nothing instead of like doing the one thing. So that's really cool. I'll have to check that out. Well, thank you so much for being here. I completely forgot. Usually, when I do podcast recordings with a guest, I totally forgot this at the beginning, but I asked like a bunch of like not a bunch, a few random questions. So, are you okay if we end with
Yeah,
that
sure.
instead?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, my first question is, where are you located and what's the weather like right now where you're at?
Good question. I am in the Berkshires in Massachusetts. Like I said, my husband and I were traveling a lot. We decided we needed a home base. Right
Mhm.
now, it is very snowing and cold,
How cold? What's the temperature?
like 10 degrees. Like there's gonna be a snowstorm today.
10?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
but you're in California, so
Yeah.
I actually like it because it's I don't want to be here all winter, but if I'm here for a month or 2 months and it's cozy and higgy, then I love it. And then I do need to travel. We're going to Thailand next month. So I need the balance.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
like it because I
Oh,
feel like
that's
with global warming, I never got to see snow until I was here.
oh, yeah. I've only seen snow a handful of times. It's funny when I'm at the beach because like we're always at the beach and you'll see like we'll be sitting there and you'll see like people that like are seeing the ocean for the first time. And I'm always like, "Oh my gosh, like how cool is that?" And it's probably like what I look like when I'm like in the snow. I'm like,
I'm sure.
"Oh, like look at this." So cool. It was 55 this morning when I took my boys to school and I was like, "It's so cold."
Oh my gosh, no,
So
it's very different.
I can't complain. Okay, next question. If you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pasta. easy.
Any like
Yeah,
certain kind?
like any pasta, I'm obsessed.
Any pasta?
I love raviolis. I love the ones where they have little like fillings.
Yeah.
Macaroni. I don't know. This is my like guilty pleasure. My husband has like macaroni on like on demand if I'm like having a really hard time or I'm just starving or something. He's like, just eat the macaroni. But yeah,
That's
not the
awesome.
healthiest, but I'd probably
Yeah,
pick pasta.
that's fine. Awesome. Okay. And then last question, if you could, well, how do I say this? What is the place on the planet where you are the happiest?
Ooh. I actually think it's where we live. Like, this is my home area. I don't live in my hometown, but it's this region. We
Yeah.
love it. It's very cultural, it's very beautiful, nature, creative, entrepreneurial. So that's why we bought this home, is to have a space here. But I need to also travel. I loved being in Bali. I've loved being in Israel, all these places. But if I
Where's
had to
your
pick,
favorite place that you've traveled to?
I loved Turkey. I absolutely
Oh,
loved
really?
Turkey. Yeah, I loved it.
Oh,
I've been 3 times. I don't know. I
okay.
think in a
What did
past
you
life I was some kind of, I
Turkish?
don't know, Turkish person or Middle Eastern.
What do you love about it?
It's just there's a spiritual aspect to it. I felt like very connected to. I love Middle Eastern culture. I don't know. There's beautiful bathhouses. There's so many colors. It's vibrant. It's lively. I don't know. I highly recommend it.
Oh, that's so cool. I'll have to put that on my bucket list. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, well, we kind of did this out of order, but thank you so much for being here. This was such a fun conversation. I know anybody listening is going to get a ton of value out of this. And like we said, we'll put all of Sarah's links and info in the show notes so you can easily click those and go say hi to her, let her know that you listened and that you love the episode. And I will see you all next time for another episode. Thanks for being here, Sarah.
Thank you, Sandy. Bye, everyone.
Bye. If you are sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, this episode was made for me, you have 2 options. You can book your absolutely free, no pressure growth gap audit call. On this call, we'll take a look at your current life and business structure, identify where your gaps are, and show you how to close those gaps so you can get better results with less effort by working smarter and focusing your time on what actually moves the needle forward. The link is in the show notes for you. Or if you're ready to go from one-off wins to repeatable revenue with structure, strategy, and sales that support your life and keep dream clients coming back and your calendar full without burning out, you can apply to work together by clicking the link in the show notes. Make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss any new episodes. And if this episode hits home, please consider leaving a review, hitting those stars, and sending it to your biz bestie who's also ready to build a life and business on purpose. I'll see you next time.